Today we are talking about a topic that we all want to know about, reversing aging.
The big question.
Is it even physiologically possible to reverse aging?
I think it's absolutely possible to reverse aging.
I'll tell you this, before getting involved with Skinterviews and researching this episode, I would have said it's all hype, but you know, I'm starting to open my eyes a little bit more.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome your hosts of Skinterviews, the expert series, George Scandalis and Nathan Strom.
Yeah, welcome everybody. Welcome to Skinterviews, the expert series. Another week, another episode. This time I can say another week because the producer can't yell at me because I didn't say next week. I know, they're being tight with us.
They are being tight with us.
Yo, man, your eyes look... Can we get a zoom in on these eyes? Look at these eyes with a suit here. Do you see that? Do you see that? Look at this. Look at that. Oh, mwah. Welcome back to Skinterviews, the expert series. Today we are talking about a topic that we all want to know about. Reversing aging. Is it possible?
I don't know. I think we're going to have to ask our experts. I think it could be, though.
Maybe if we have a DeLorean and we go back to the future, we can maybe reverse something if we time travel. But let's think about it, okay? Back in the 1800s, the average life expectancy was about 40 years old. Fast forward 150 years, and we are living today to a life expectancy globally on an average of 72.6 years of age. I mean, that's not that much older. When I hear 72, I don't think that's old, but that means that on average, I'm way past my midlife crisis. Like, my midlife crisis should have happened a few years back, but...
But why are you still in it? What? The car, the new clothes.
You know what? No.
The hair.
No, you know, I'm not gonna let you talk to me like that. This is my show. This is our show. All right, I'll let you have half of it, okay? So we're gonna learn about reversing aging today, and if it's actually even possible. I mean, what an oxymoron, right?
It's such a funny thing, George, because I have my three young kids, and I look at them every day, and all they're trying to say is, Daddy, I want to get bigger, I want to get stronger, I want to get older, I want to do this, I want to do that.
And then you got your business partner that's telling you, Nathan, all I want to do is get smaller and thinner, maybe a little taller, so I can be like, you know, I should do my hair bigger. That's what I think I need to do. And of course, I want to be younger, longer. But is aging tied to the way we look in our face? Because when we talk about reversing aging in our industry, we constantly think about the aesthetic. But what's happening inside? I mean, I might look like a 20-year-old on the surface, and I'm going to turn off commenting on all our social because I don't want to hear what you really think. But on the inside, chronologically, biologically, we might be a lot older. I mean, on the inside, for sure, you are a lot younger. You're healthy, you're fit, you're handsome, you eat well, you sleep well. I mean, you are the most boring person I know.
But is it all about being healthy? Is there more to it?
Well, I don't know. When we think about reversing aging in our industry, we always think about the way we look. But shouldn't we think about the way we feel?
I agree with that.
What about aging gracefully? Let's find out, though, what we can actually do to turn back the hands of time. Because I think the next episode might be just as relevant. We're going to hear from our experts today and see what science has done to be able to help you look younger, feel younger, be younger, longer. Ready?
Let's go to our experts.
Let's do it.
Welcome to episode 3, Reversing Aging. Can we really turn back the hands of time?
Humans have always been on a quest for the fountain of youth, you know, those elixirs that can reverse the aging process. Although we haven't found that well just yet, we're starting to uncover some of the pieces of the puzzle.
The big question, can we reverse aging?
Absolutely. We do that every day.
In the words of the illustrious Missy Elliott, gotta lay down, flip it, and reverse it.
Is it even physiologically possible to reverse aging? Wow. That's a question I think has to go back to some of those smart astrophysicist people where they put the twins in space and then one was moving at Earth in different time zone and Stephen Hawking stuff.
I am going to say that it is possible from all of, again, the scientific literature that I have read over the years.
I think it's absolutely possible to reverse aging, and I feel like we do it here all the time.
I do believe it's possible to physiologically reverse signs of aging.
Everything on Earth ages every day, every second, every minute. It's not a bad thing. But can we actually go in and reverse that process, that natural biological process of aging? I don't think so.
So I really think there's an abundance of evidence to suggest that we can indeed reverse aging.
I'll tell you this, before getting involved with Skinterviews and researching this episode, I would have said it's all hype, but I'm starting to open my eyes a little bit more.
There is evidence to suggest that we can impact genes that are involved in aging. There's evidence to suggest that we can turn on and off different enzymes that work to repair damage to either DNA cells, DNA in certain cell types. We can adjust vascularity, produce elastin, collagen. And I think those things do, in a sense, reverse aging.
Well, first of all, what is aging? So aging occurs across all body systems and can be related to a number of factors, including things like telomere shortening, your cells stop dividing and growing, there's oxidative stress and more, and it can impact many body systems.
So we like to classify aging in two different categories. So it can be intrinsic aging, that means just time passing, cells dividing. Some people believe that telomeres in your DNA shorten over time, or more and more mistakes are made in your DNA. So no matter what you do, there's that intrinsic aging that happens.
Intrinsic factors are more these genetically predetermined components, hormones, biochemical processes.
Genetics will predict a certain sort of percentage of our intrinsic aging. And that part is the part that is very difficult, if not impossible, to change. And that will age one organ differently than another organ. So a person who has a certain genetic background may age very gracefully externally, but may have internal organ issues that obviously would be linked to aging.
And then extrinsic factors refer to environmental influences, so particularly ultraviolet radiation, so sunlight, that can damage the skin and can contribute to aging.
When we see aging on the surface, it's often a sign of aging deeper. I've always said that your skin is a really powerful reflection of your overall health and well-being. And when someone is generally healthy, it does reflect in their skin. But there's exceptions. You look at people who are Olympic volleyball players, and they're incredibly healthy, and they're very muscular, and they're young, but they've spent so much time in the sun, they actually look way older than their years. So it's not always a powerful reflection, but in general, your skin does reflect your overall health and well-being. And when I look at my patients, I can often tell so much about them. Your skin can reflect heart disease, liver disease, kidney disease, heart disease. I think I might have said that twice because I really like that one. But also it can show signs of depression and brain aging and so much else. So when I look at my patients, I'm not just looking at them for aesthetics and what I can do to restore and rebalance, as we've talked about in earlier episodes. I'm also looking for signs of maybe diabetes or prediabetes that can have a powerful impact on how they're aging.
The way cells age has a lot to do with their turnover. So cells will turn over at a certain rate. Again, a lot of that we think is determined genetically. And so the rate of turnover is also impacted by many other influences. So let's say a damaged cell is going to turn over at a different rate and in a different way than a cell that hasn't been damaged. So that's why, as a dermatologist, we talk a lot about sun exposure. So when patients who have a lot of sun exposure, their aging process is very different. And patients who smoke as well, their aging is very different just because they have had those influences, external influences on their DNA replication process and their cellular processes in general.
So all that said, unless someone's actually discovered the fountain of youth or solved time travel, I think we're gonna have to continue to age. But the question really is, can you reverse some of those traditional signs of aging? Can you maintain a more youthful appearance?
Aging is a bit of a misnomer. Aging has to do with relativity to your age. Are you 19? Are you 56? Are you 80? It's aging. That's what we think of it as aging. As human beings, we start as cute, smooth, chubby-cheeked little babies with no flaws, no blemishes. And over time, over experience and living on earth and sun and life and everything else, we age. We age, we grow, we mold, we turn into something else. It's no different than a plant. Starts as a small green seedling, next thing you know it's a blooming flower, then it's tipped over. It's a natural thing, it's okay. But for many of us, we'd like to stay in that stage of that beautiful blooming flower as long as we can.
We're gonna age. It's natural. Accept it. You know, with vaccinations and antibiotics and sanitations, we're living longer than we ever have before. And that means that we're spending more time in the later years, prone to disease. The older we get, the more likely we are to suffer those age-related diseases. Research is now uncovering some of those driving factors in aging and how we can intervene.
Although you can't do anything about your chronological age, what about your biological age? And so far the evidence is not conclusive, but in one study there were 9 healthy men and they were given a cocktail of human growth hormone, metformin, DHEA, vitamin D, and zinc. And they took this for 1 year and they shed about 2.5 years off their biological ages when their epigenome was analyzed. Of course, this was just one small data. We need a lot more research, but I think there's a lot more to come.
There are some studies going on, FDA-approved studies on medicines called senolytics, and they're actually designed to reverse aging systemically.
There is a study that has been done at Stanford actually many years ago where they showed that the aging of the skin can be reversed at a molecular level through IPL or BBL, which is broadband light. So what they did is for many years they treated patients on a regular basis with BBL, which is a broadband spectrum of light and of the infrared spectrum specifically, which everybody knows as photofacial. And when they treated the skin with that light on a regular basis, they showed that the mRNA expression, which is the genetic expression of the skin specimens that they took, compared of, for example, a 60-year-old after several years of treatment compared to the gene expression of a skin of a 20-something-year-old. So we know that it can be reversed.
One of the cool things I read about was actually NAD, which is nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide. This is an important compound in our bodies. It keeps our DNA healthy. It actually helps to convert food into usable energy and actually helps to regulate our sleep-wake cycles. By the age of 50, we actually lose half of the NAD level we had when we were 20. Low levels of NAD have been associated with increased risk of heart disease, diabetes, and worst of all, accelerated aging. Studies in mice have shown that NAD improves stem cells, improves DNA repair, and actually increases lifespan. Harvard geneticists are actually working on ways to develop a drug that we can take a pill to get more NAD into our bodies safely.
Lately, there's been a lot of stem cell research. There's been a lot of people going to Panama from my practice that I see that go and get either young blood transfusions or they get stem cell treatments from embryos.
You could use stem cells to locally change the composition and the youthfulness of the tissues, whether it is skin. And we use that for treatment of scars. We use that for just rejuvenating the texture of the skin. So these things are not new anymore. They're just new to the ears of some people, and it kind of sounds futuristic, but it really isn't.
I do believe that we will figure out which component of young blood is able to reverse signs of aging, and we'll be able to treat people without having to use the controversial source that we do now. For example, I was just researching melatonin, and people were upset because melatonin is from cow pineal glands historically. But now we found we can derive it from feverfew and St. John's wort. So melatonin, that supplement people take to sleep, is from a plant. So all we need to do is isolate what aspect of young blood, what exact factor is there, what is it about stem cells that is causing our body to act younger, and can we isolate that and have a less risky and more mainstream way to have access to that treatment? And also, who will have access to it? That's the question. Who can afford those treatments? And again, it's going to be the haves and have-nots.
So in the last episode, we talked a lot about how celebrities have a huge impact on the aesthetic industry, and skincare is no different.
I've heard stories about Madonna who would sleep in a zipped up sort of plastic bag, put moisturizer all over her body, zip up this bag like a sauna heat and sleep in that.
So the one I found actually really interesting is Victoria Beckham's bird poo facials. Nightingale facials use sanitized, dehydrated nightingale bird poo, which is ground down into a fine powder, mixed with water to form a paste, then smeared all over the skin. The bird poo is actually said to be high in urea, which locks in the moisture in the guanine, which can actually apparently have a brightening effect. So who knows? I think this weekend I might take up bird fancying.
We hear about Jennifer Aniston doing cellulite treatments on a regular basis. I've even heard rumors of J-Lo doing radio frequency treatments that she has a machine at her house. Now, these are not substantiated, but of course everyone's trying to reverse signs of aging. Some are more obsessed with it than others, and some need to be obsessed with it more than others because they're in the public eye.
Right, Angelina Jolie's caviar body treatments and Katie Holmes' snail slime treatments, both of those have been converted into actual skincare stuff that we sell.
Most famous example would be Michael Jackson, who often slept in a hyperbaric oxygen chamber in order to stave off aging.
It's not actually that crazy. I mean, we all know Michael Jackson had an hyperbaric oxygen chamber at home. We use it in medicine specifically for bone infections or healing of patients' skin that have diabetes or that have trouble healing. So that's actually been used, and all it does, it increases the blood flow through the area, and blood flow is like nutrition to the area, and nutrition means health. And so if you look at it from that standpoint, you are basically doing anti-aging through healing. But yeah, there is some crazy stuff out there, and I recommend everybody to do their research.
There's long lists of things that people do for reversing, and they kind of pick your organ system. Like for a while it became like all this vaginal rejuvenation stuff where steaming the vagina or sticking things, all sorts of things seem to, rejuvenate and reverse aging in that area.
I've certainly heard of people applying various topicals to try and reverse aging. Things like tea tree oil, applying that all over their face. I've heard patients applying Vaseline all over the face on a daily basis.
Or people would talk about things you put on your face, all these home do-it-yourself kind of things that absolutely do nothing for your skin. Food is generally meant to be eaten, not put on your skin, although I think there's a few things that are exceptions to that. But they'll put things like lemon juice on their skin to lighten and brighten, when in reality, it's a photosensitizer. If you put it on your skin, after a certain amount of time, it's activated. And even if you go out in the sun 10 hours later, you'll still burn because it takes 24 hours for that chemical to deactivate.
Well, I have heard it all. I'm going to stay away from the semen facials because it's not that type of episode.
That whale sperm facial, I heard that's crazy. I mean, a lot of the stuff, I feel like people are getting so desperate that they're willing to try anything, and that's why it's so easy for them to fall into those traps. Desperation usually gets you into traps.
There is one thing that I did see that absolutely blew my mind. Here in my town where I work and live, I was presented, personally, I was involved in this case of a young lady, mid-40s years old. I think she was an educator, teacher of some type, who was injecting herself with mercury.
A lot of things that people are doing, if they don't know what chemicals are in these products, because they think, well, natural is always safe, but it's not always safe. Natural things are also chemicals, and some of these chemicals can be toxic.
She would go to these old antique stores, buy these old thermometers, crack them open, take this mercury, take it into a needle and inject it into herself because she heard on the goddamn internet that this would help her A, lose weight, and B, not age. Well, I can tell you, George, she got one right. She did lose weight because she went into multi-system organ failure and ended up in the ICU. She probably lost 50 pounds. So, truthfully, it did work. However, anti-aging, I do not think that was the way to go.
I think for the most part, unless they're coming in to treat a problem that has maybe stemmed from them self-treating, a lot of times maybe they're not saying too much.
In fact, when I got presented to her in the clinic, I thought, wow, how do I deal with a lady who has all of these subcutaneous globs of mercury, which as a kid we were told, like, this is like, Krypton, stay away from it. What do I do? There is no chapter in the plastic surgery book on the management of subcutaneous mercury, right? It's not there. So we ended up, having to operate her, this poor lady, take out all this mercury. It was flowing down the floor. It was like that, one of those movies where I think it was Schwarzenegger, where they, they're all molded in silver and it was bizarre. So, from Dr. Brent Howley to anyone watching, please do not inject yourself with mercury as a means of anti-aging. This is brought to you, this is a free public broadcasting message. Do not do this.
Unfortunately, I have seen patients inject themselves with various products to prevent or reverse aging.
If at some point you wake up in the morning and think to yourself, for whatever reason, I think today I'll inject myself with, stop right there. Just stop right there. Don't just stop. Call a friend, call your mother. Call me, call Dr. Howley's office and say, I was thinking on injecting myself with mercury today. We'll have a very pleasant discussion with you and we'll guide you differently.
There's a lot of research going into the area of slowing down or stopping aging with everything from calorie-restricted or intermittent fasting type diets to supplements like nicotinamide to even medications like metformin. I think certainly there's more to come. But for now, I don't think we can expect to go all Benjamin Button.
How am I handling my own aging? Well, apparently not so well.
I hate it. I'm so pissed.
I do find people sometimes seek out treatment when there's this mismatch between their external appearance and their own internal self-image. And a common statement that patients might say when they come in is that they want to look how they feel.
I feel very young, very vibrant inside, and whenever I hear the number of my age said out loud, it just doesn't even seem like that's me. And so, yeah, it's really hard to swallow. So I understand it. It's very stressful and not cool. But what are you going to do? You don't really have a choice, do you?
Having said that, there are many in-office cosmetic procedures that can restore a more youthful appearance.
Surgical and non-surgical ways to reverse aging. Obviously the surgical ones are repositioning the tissues, whether it's the bone or the soft tissues, the muscle, fat, skin, that have been sagging as a result of changes in the biology and the anatomy, and as a result of gravity's effect on those, which is basically pulling things down. So those can be lifted up surgically. Of course, you have to be familiar with facial anatomy to know where to reposition them so that the patients look natural, the natural version of themselves 20 years ago. So those are surgical anti-aging measures.
Yeah, so certainly there are a number of things we can do to reduce those visible signs of aging. And this includes neuromodulators that can reduce the appearance of fine lines and wrinkles. It can also include filler that can replace volume loss that's common as we age, laser resurfacing that can eliminate sunspots or age spots, skin tightening treatments to improve skin laxity. So there's really a lot of options that we have available to patients now.
So Sculptra is a collagen biostimulator. As we age, it thins the skin. We get a reduction of the collagen, the elastin, and we want to reverse that by stimulating your body's own production of natural collagen. And so the way I like to think about it is a spring. Think about a spring that's you're holding it up against gravity. Now, if you let the spring go, we have to put effort into bringing it up, right? Work is equal to force times distance. And so when we're actually improving the collagen, we're reversing that stretching out of the spring. And so we're actually reversing and preventing aging.
The non-surgical, which is to me as a surgeon, the most exciting ones, which have kind of revolutionized my practice in the past couple of years. And primarily when it comes to rejuvenating the skin and the fat below it, through tightening it using radio frequency energy, which in essence is nothing other than heat. Everybody has put a piece of meat on the grill and see it shrink. You know, heat kind of shrinks the tissues through kind of melting things. But again, if that has to be controlled, so the temperature is controlled, and that there has been science behind it. There's been research done to see what's the best temperature to get the best tightening, most tightening, and at the same time not cause injury to the skin.
So one of my other favorites, retinoic acid or Tretinoin. These are medications that were introduced in the 70s for the treatment of acne, and they actually reverse many of the age-related changes. Retinoids are probably the single most powerful weapon in our skincare armamentarium against aging skin. They penetrate past the top coat of the skin, the epidermis. They sink down into the dermis where they increase collagen, elastin production. They help to expedite cell turnover, and they thicken the skin.
So reversing aging, without question, I would add a retinol or retinoic acid to someone's skincare regime. I do feel that skincare is important. We see it visibly on patients' skin. Their skin quality, without question, is different. There is tons of evidence. I think that's part of the issue is there's just so much evidence on skincare. And often, studies are done by the people who are making the skincare products, which doesn't necessarily mean that, they're not reliable, but everyone sort of interprets them, I guess with a little bit of, that potential for bias. But there is some excellent evidence with regards to skincare that shows at the cellular level that there are indeed changes. So I think skincare and lasers really go hand in hand in terms of reversing aging, as well as just keeping the skin healthy.
If someone has muscle sagging, you can't just lift everything up by tightening the skin. You can't hang the muscle or the deep facial tissues just by tightening the skin. So that's when you then combine it maybe with some surgery or replace it with surgery. So you have to kind of know what you're doing, what your goal is, what the patient's expectations are to choose the right tool for the right indication for the right patient expectation. And that's the art.
One of the interesting things I've been taking and I've been reading a lot about is telomerase. So there's a product I take called TA65, which is telomerase, and it does help lengthen your telomeres.
These are the protective caps at the end of our chromosomes. Chromosomes are the pieces of information that carry our genetic code. As we grow older, our telomeres begin to shorten. They no longer protect the chromosome, leading to cell death. Think about a plastic tip at the end of your shoelace, right? As our cells age, that plastic tip at the end of the shoelace gets smaller and smaller, eventually breaks, and the lace frays.
So recently, Israeli scientists announced that they had devised a novel program that uses a hyperbaric oxygen chamber to reverse two key aging processes. And they reportedly were able to counteract the shortening of telomeres and the body's aggregation of old and poorly functioning cells.
This is cellular reversal of aging. Move over, Benjamin Button.
The reported benefits are primarily in terms of brain function, but of course, who knows what it might do for the skin.
In general, the longer your chromosomes, the younger you are. And you can actually measure that. So people who've been taking TA65 can measure their telomeres and can see that they actually get longer, which is a sign of reversing aging.
There's a lot of research now that sleep can reverse aging because, you know, if you sleep better, you feel better, you look better. So if you sleep more regularly and get 8 hours sleep consistently, you're going to reverse aging.
I like to try to keep active, right? You want to be exercising, eat well, sleep, use sunscreen. Guys, these things don't cost you anything. They're free. Do it.
Well, I've got a lot of this information in my book, Beyond Soap, which you can buy Amazon, Google Play. It's in Russian, Vietnamese, it's in Canada and the US, and at your local library. So exercise. So exercise can actually reverse aging. So there is a Canadian researcher that I talk about on page 219, Tarnopolsky. He published it. It was also in the New Yorker magazine, I believe. And he looked at people who exercised regularly. He biopsied their skin before and after, and their skin actually decreased, increased collagen, and so that you get decreased aging. So exercise regularly will decrease your aging and turn back the clock.
Well, aging reversal is kind of buying more time. So I see those as very similar, but it's buying more quality time. And one of the things, you know, as a journalist before I went to medical school, and one of the reasons I went to journalism school to study medical reporting was really to write about hospice care and about quality of life over length of life. So I don't think everyone necessarily lives a long life of 100 years or longer, but if the time that you have, you're living your best life every day and you're the healthiest you can be, then I think that is a gift. And in that sense, every day is a gift and your life is incredibly full.
We are living better. We know not to smoke. We know not to drink too much. We know not to lay in the sun. So our actual body, our cells, our cellular makeup is healthier longer. And also we're doing cosmetic treatments and looking much younger and fresher because of that.
And, you know, a lot of my patients actually talk about getting regular cosmetic treatments, be that, you know, some injectables, complexion lasers, in the same way that they go to get their hair and nails done. It's kind of become this other form of beauty investment and, you know, an overall part of their self-care regimen that they're doing.
And not all beauty treatments are anti-aging treatments. A lot of beauty treatments I'm doing now on 20-year-olds, even younger, nose reshaping, lip enhancement. So there are higher cheekbones. There are things that are bothering people that they want to improve. So it's not always age reversal, but I would say the majority of our patients come in for reversing signs of aging.
Our biological age is our biological age. We cannot change that. However, how someone feels about themselves, we all know that person who, we know two people, I'm sure, who are 75 years old. One is 75 and we say, oh, she's going on 100. The other guy is 75 and he's going on 20. Why? They're the same biological age. But they may look physically different. One may look younger, one may look older, but the biggest thing we notice is how they feel about themselves, how they feel from the inside, what they do, how they act, how they portray themselves. And the way they see themselves in the mirror or how they perceive others see them in terms of their age influences that. When they look younger, when they'll feel younger, they'll act younger. So the art of dealing with aging and reversing aging is not just the appearance. It's how you present yourself, how you feel about yourself, where you are at this time, at this age.
Well, I think there's a huge difference between aging gracefully and aging helplessly. And so many people come in and they say, well, I just want to age gracefully. Meanwhile, they're out sunbathing with the reflector and they're smoking and they're drinking and staying up late and stressing. And none of that is aging gracefully. That's all poisoning yourself.
Yeah, I mean, people often talk about aging gracefully or positive aging, and these terms, I think, can have different meanings for each person. To me, you know, it often refers to this concept of not trying to stop aging completely or turn back the clock 20 years, but to make more subtle, natural changes to kind of instill that confidence, refresh the skin, so people look and feel their best now, but with an emphasis on prevention so that our skin maintains that healthy appearance for years to come.
A 60-year-old today looks much younger than a 60-year-old a generation and generations before us. That has to do with the things that I mentioned, just because not just we have more tools and technologies in aesthetic medicine, but also our lifestyle has changed. We eat healthier, we live healthier, we don't smoke as much, we don't drink as much, all those things. We exercise more. As a lifestyle is also an important factor that I try to educate my patients.
For me, aging gracefully means having a healthy diet, getting enough sleep, having gratitude, and being fulfilled in life. I know a lot of it comes from within, and I actually think, my daughter told a story about, she was looking at pictures of me through different ages, and she looked at me as a kid, and then as a teenager, and then more recent pictures, and she says, "Mommy, that was you?" And I said, "Yeah." And then she pauses and she looks at me and she goes, "By the time you die, you're gonna be a supermodel." So, I think that we can get more beautiful as we age, and I think that my 50s are my best decade yet. I feel prettier now than I did in my 40s, and some of that comes from accomplishment and confidence and a little help from my friends with the injections and the devices, because pretty much everything that I have in the office I've had on myself.
Well, I am definitely doing all the things. I have to try the things that I advocate for, so I like to try them out. I certainly do at-home evidence-based skincare. I do a regular laser maintenance plan to target some of my misspent youth in tanning beds, coated in baby oil. I don't even want to talk. It's so embarrassing. I can't believe I'm admitting this on camera. But I also do preventative Botox every 3 to 4 months, yearly skin tightening, and then intermittently a little filler as needed. So I like to try a little bit of it all.
As a dermatologist, I do feel pressure to look good. My patients are all looking at me all the time. They want to see what my skin looks like. They want to see whether my fillers look natural before they jump in and get fillers and injectables done. But honestly, the most pressure comes from myself. I'm the one that's picky, and I feel like that's what helps me relate to my patients. My patients are very much like me, and so your practice often as a doctor will reflect you. I'm picky. I want to get things done. I want things to look great. I don't want them to look overdone. I don't want it to look unnatural. So I have that type of patient, and I can tell them, I'm a consumer of the procedures that I provide.
And I have no problems with that because it makes me happy, and I try to go for balance and harmony, and I have no problems with having lines or wrinkles. I actually like being older. I like looking older, and I like the confidence and the joy that comes with it. And I know there's responsibility as well. I know that as I get older and I accomplish more, I have a responsibility to help the next generation succeed as well. And that's something that gives me a lot of joy. And I think it's my way of reversing aging in myself.
Aging gracefully to me just means to maintain your health and your youth with what's available today without overdoing it or going crazy.
I do believe that the biggest deterrent for people to do cosmetic treatments is the visibility of someone they see in the public eye, a famous person who had treatments that look overdone or went awry. And so what I want people to understand is that is not the majority of cases. In the majority of time, if you do a reasonable procedure and a reasonable amount of filler, a reasonable amount of neuromodulator, you're gonna look normal. You should not be able to tell that someone did anything. So once you see that, either in the media or at the gym, you start becoming fearful about doing any of these procedures.
There's 2 points to that. There's one philosophical aspect to it. So what's too far for one person is not enough for another person. That goes back to expectations. What do you like to happen? So I can't, for example, if you have something done, I can't judge whether you've gone too far or not, if you like it. Now, if sanity comes to play, like let's say you're insane, you do something that's actually not safe, that actually distorts you, then one can argument, okay, you've gone too far, and one has to question your sanity if you willingly did that and you actually like that. But again, another argument could be, well, as long as you're happy, that's the right thing.
What happens when people go too far to try to look better is that they actually start to look worse. And their face doesn't move at all because they don't want a single line, but they don't realize that when they're talking to people, they don't look like a human. They look almost reptilian. That when they want their brows lifted because they think a youthful look is to have a lifted brow, that it's too lifted and they look almost demonic. So there has to be that fine balance of understanding what looks good and what starts to look just crazy. And we've seen this time and time again with celebrities, but also you can see it at your local gym. Someone says, you know, I got my lips filled, I feel better, I look more youthful and sexy, and then they fill it again and again and again and again. It's too much. So it's all about moderation in this beauty world.
When someone comes in and I feel like they've done a little bit too much, I try to have a conversation with them, always first seeing their beauty, because even in those patients, they have beauty, and we try to identify their best features. And then I try to really understand what's driving them to do these things. And many times there are underlying issues, whether it's depression, or they may have lost a family member at this age, or there's just something going on in their life that we can address. But many times it's really about taking the time to kind of understand and have a conversation with them about how they're feeling, what it is they're really looking for, and then sometimes there's things I can do, and sometimes I can't.
There are ethical boundaries as physicians that we have to consider when we consult our patients. I had a patient, she wanted to have big lips, right? So I injected a couple of syringes of filler du jour, and then she requested more, and I didn't feel it looks good anymore. And she pretty much said, I really want them bigger. I said, fine. Long story short, after 5 syringes, I said, ma'am, with all due respect, I don't feel comfortable doing that because I'm concerned at this point about your safety. Upon which she got upset, and she even said, listen, I'm paying for it, so what's your deal? And I said, well, at this point, it's a safety issue. So then, where do you draw the line?
So I in those cases, I find ways to help them in a way that also works for me, where I'm staying true to my ethics and my understanding of what I think is the right thing to do, and also trying to not have them feel disappointed that they're leaving without having their concerns addressed. But it's a complicated conversation.
So again, one person's ceiling can be another person's floor, and that's more of an opinion, taste, but also safety.
The term vanity is often deemed as a very negative term. Oh, she's so vain. Look at her, so vain. He's so vain. The truth of it is, I think we all, deep down, everyone, some more than others, they want to retain that youthfulness. Not just in their skin, the wrinkles, but their heart, their brain. They want to retain that youthfulness. And how we appear is just part of that. So although we can't stop our aging, we certainly encourage people to stay young, feel young, look young, dress young. It just is something that keeps you in that pocket of positive youthfulness. And if doing something aesthetically, whether it be a skin cream, a tightening, a surgery, whatever it is that keeps you in that pocket, that's where you should go.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely think that treating your skin and taking care of your skin and preventing damage to the skin really should be looked at the same as treating any other organ of the body. We do all sorts of things to help our other organs, whether it be exercise, whether it be dietary, whether it be supplements. We do all of these things in order to make our body function in a healthy way, and that is reflected in our skin. So I think taking care of our skin is just another common approach that we take in every other way, but for some reason is looked at a little bit differently.
The truth of it is, it's not about reversing aging or stopping aging. Where we come in, where the world and what we can do as cosmetic plastic surgeons and anti-aging clinics and medicine is preventative aging, or aging well, or pro-aging. We're going to age. You're going to. But let's do it well, safely, comfortably, and with some predictable results.
To reverse aging, we're really learning that the skin is reversing aging on its own every day, and most of the times we just kind of have to stay out of its way and allow it to do its job. So if you just help keep it healthy and intact, and try not to insult it by over exfoliating or over stripping it or over manipulating it, the skin will do a pretty good job on its own.
So honestly, the best way to not look aged is to also prevent aging. So next episode, we're going to talk about age prevention.
Thank you so much for watching today's episode on reversing aging. It has me a little stressed out, I'm not going to lie, because I would really like to be able to turn the hands of time back a little bit.
I think we all would.
In the meantime, you can watch me progressively age on all our social channels. Make sure to follow us on Instagram at skin.terviews. Facebook is Skinterviews by Nathan and George. So is LinkedIn. And of course,
Don't forget to follow us on skinterviews.world, our new website.
thank you again for watching. Coming up on our next episode, we've got something a little more interesting than reversing aging, and maybe it's what we all need to focus on most. That is preventative aging. Our experts have a lot to say, and I'm sure you're going to have a lot of questions. Make sure to submit them. Make sure to let us know what you want answered. And if you'd like to be part of our live studio audience, head over to skinterviews.world and you can register to buy tickets to be in our studio audience with us today. Thank you again for being here today, everybody. And thank you for watching Skinterviews, the Expert Series.
Thank you and good night.
Boom!